Hey, what is up guys? So we are going to be doing a deck profile on the TG Madolche deck that I played a few days ago. And honestly, it's a very fun deck to play, but I don't think it's going to be the best build of Madolche's. I think that you should definitely play some traps in Madolche's, but this build was just to kind of show off how the deck can run, especially at its potential by throwing up a bunch of monsters and throwing up a Naturia beast. Now I'll put a link down below in the description box so you can actually see how it runs, as well as basically the Naturia beast play at the end. I know in the video a lot of you guys mentioned you could have OTK'd him like a turn ago, but the thing is, I wanted to show you guys the ability to make Naturia beast, even though you don't have to have, you can't make it with Werewolf, but it definitely helps you out. Using TG Werewolf, what you're able to do is still make your Levier or, whatever rank 3 XYZ you need to make, and then from there, Hoot Cake is still an Earth, so it still allows you to make Naturia beast. Or you can go for an instant fusion. That also works to get out Naturia beast. So, one problem that I've noticed with Madolche's, whether you get, Battle Faders, so Scarecrow, or Gores, or however they stop your OTK, one thing that they can lose to is if they perhaps play another field spell on top. Like, let's say they throw up something like a Necro Valley or something. After that, if they Dark Hole you and you've exhausted all your hand, you essentially lose. A lot of times in this deck you can OTK fairly easy, especially in the TG build, but with the plain Madolche's, I figured that I was always basically down by a few, 100 points. There'd always be some duels where I'd bounce back the monster and I'd just be a few hundred points off from winning the game. And I almost contemplated on running Ukazi at one point because I was like, this is just so close. Why can't I just, OTK? But, cards like the TG cards as well as Instant Fusion definitely allow you to OTK much easier. And the thing is, if you, happen to get stopped by anything, Dark Hole would always ruin the day. So that's why there's Naturia Beast in this build, and that is why there's 3 My Body adds a shield. But anyways, let's go ahead and finally get started with the deck profile. I'll explain all the choices and little combos and things that you can do in this deck as we go along. So first off, we're going to kick it off with 3 Madolche Gelato. This card is absolutely fantastic in the deck. Really cool play is just, ANGELY and pop it, go into Hoot Cake banish ANGELY. Then you go ahead and go for Gelato, and you go ahead and add whichever card you don't have. Usually I add Chateau, and we'll talk about why I'm playing 3 Ticket later on, but the thing is, Chateau is just a super insane card, and I think that, I want to try some builds out with Dragodia, because sometimes in this deck you happen to have a lot of extra cards in your hand, which we'll talk about later, which we can talk about, better cards that we can actually replace some of these cards with if you want to play a more competitive build of Madolche. This is more just so as an OTK and just pretty much showing off how insanely good Madolche Lone Fire is. But yeah, this card just lets you add stuff. This card is a fantastic card to add. I'm not playing it later. We'll talk about this card also later on. But for now, this card is absolutely fantastic. Basically, it's like Return from the Different Dimension from Madolche's. It's just like you activate it and you simply just win the duel. Like if you happen to have a bunch of cards in your hand, it's just like a win harder card. Next up, we have 3 Madolche Madolche, and this is really crazy that Madolche Madolche is still more expensive than Madolche Hoot Cake, although I feel Hoot Cake is a much better competitive card because you happen to have a lot of cards that search. This card lets you just add this card, which allows you to also, if you happen to already have this card in your hand, you can also go for Ticket, and then basically from there you can just search out for whatever card that you need. But this card is definitely good, don't get me wrong. I probably would still play 3. I mean, you can cut it down to 2. You can actually play without it because this card is just absolutely crazy. It's just like, oh, you know what? Special summon any Madolche, and then like it combos so well with Hoot Cake. It's like a Madolche Tour Guide, or it's like a Lone Fire into Tour Guide. It just sets up too many combos in the deck. But yeah, it's crazy that this card is basically twice the price as Hoot Cake. But anyways, next up, 3 Madolche ANGELY. This card is absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, the first turn play that you can do if you don't have a play, but you just want to throw something on board, you can go ANGELY into Hoot Cake into go for Gelato. Since there is a beast on the field, he's able to just go ahead and add whatever he wants to add, or you can add this if you're actually playing this. But next up, we'll play 3 Hoot Cake. It allows you to go for stuff. Keep in mind, you don't always have to banish a Madolche monster. You can banish Maxi, you can banish the Effect Failures, you can banish the TG cards if you want, because keep in mind, you do have Levier in this deck, so potentially you can bring back like a Striker and then make an Naturia Beast afterwards. Because I feel like, since Tanky's at 3, it's also good to negate Tankies and stuff like that, so it's a fantastic card. Plus, sometimes it allows you to go Striker into Werewolf into just a Catastor, and that just baits out any back row, and then from there, you're like, okay, cool, I haven't even used my normal summon. Normal summon Cat, go into my ANGELY, and then OTK you anyways. But, yeah, Hoot Cake is a fantastic card. Next up, 3 TG Werewolf. I really like 3 Werewolf simply because in this build I'm not really playing I'm playing a lot of hand traps, but the thing is I almost consider a Werewolf a hand trap because sometimes your opponent will push really hard, and if they're able to special summon something really low, you can just go TG Werewolf in defense mode, and then you can search out for your Striker and then combo even harder next turn, so it prevents you from getting OTK, plus it searches out you a card so you can OTK them back. Next up I play 3 Madolche Fuel. I don't know how the exact pronunciation of it, but anyways, he is a pretty awesome card because this card goes into, well, you summon this card and you go into ANGELY or Hoot Cake, whatever you need to go for, but this card just opens up your combos. This is basically your go-to card to start off your OTKs. Next up, triple Max C, triple Effect Veiler, because like I said, there's no traps, plus it works pretty well with Hoot Cake because a lot of times I would prefer to keep the Madolches in the graveyard. Usually ANGELY is the only one that actually gets to hit the graveyard, but yeah, I like to banish these cards instead because, you know, there's no pot of duality, there's no pot of avarice in the deck, and I don't think you'd want to play it anyways, but yeah, there's nothing that these cards really do in the graveyard. Banishing them actually does more use because you can get them back with Levier. Next I play 1 Instant Fusion. It just allows me to make Naturia beasts even harder and allows me to, you know, OTK even harder because this card is here because I think it's hilarious throughout an Excalibur and Madolches because people like, a lot of times if I was playing on Dueling Network a long time ago, I used to bring out this card, people were like, what the heck, you can't make that, and I'm like, yeah, I can. There is two, you know, just 2 Messenger Lottos, or you can Instant Fusion for this bad boy over here, and you can make Excalibur anyways. But yeah, Instant Fusion, I think it's good at 1. You can definitely play more if you want, but the only thing I don't like with it is you have to pay 1,000 life points, and sometimes that can be a lot of life points. Sometimes you just might not have the ability to activate it. Next up, triple MST, just get rid of the back row. One thing that I've noticed the deck will lose to immediately is something like Vandy's Emptiness. There's like no outs to that in this deck, other than, you know, MST to pop something else. It's kind of like Dragon Rulers. Like, basically if Vandy's Emptiness is out in the field, you have very few options that you can do. You have like Blaster, and maybe like Phoenix Wing Blast, but there's like very few things you can do against that deck, or a Christia, or something that just stops special on Fossil Dyna. I mean, you can technically run over Fossil Dyna if you have this, plus like Madolche. But the thing is, yeah, there are very few things that you can do if, you know, you can't special summon in this deck. Also, 3 more Body to Shield prevents Mirror Force, prevents Torrential Tribute. At one point I was thinking about Lance, but Lance reduces the attack, and I just want to go for a game a lot of times. Plus, then I don't get my boost out of Chateau, so my Body to Shield, awesome card, I really love it. Plus, it also prevents you from getting Darkhold. Like I said, a lot of times in this deck, you'll push for a lot of stuff. If you exhaust most of your hand, if they happen to Darkhold you, you lose. Or even Judgment Dragon, Black Rose, you know, anything that just clears the board, you can simply just lose. I know that you can technically maintain a bunch of your stuff, like, you'll be able, if they go for something like Darkhold, you'll be able to add all of them in your hand, you get a search out too, which is absolutely fantastic, but you might be able to just get OTK'd, like, you might just lose because of that. So, I really love this addition to the deck, because no matter how many times, unless they, like, clear your board, you have so many cards on the field where they're just going to return anyways, and it's like, it's fine, I'm just going to maintain more cards than you and just win next turn. Because if you happen to get Max Seed, it's not that bad in this deck, because if you happen to have your Chateau on the field, everything goes back. You're just going to you're going to attempt to at least OTK them next turn anyways. Yeah, I love this card so much. Next up, 3 Ticket, which is something we need to talk about because a lot of players are like, why would you play 3 Ticket? Okay, here's the thing. Madolche plus Ticket equals I'm going to beat you next turn unless you can stop it. And I love that aspect of it. Like I said, this is not the best build of Madolche. It's just one variant or one way you could play the deck, which I think is really awesome. It's a really aggressive way to play Madolche. Like I said, there's like no back row and all the back, well, there's this, which basically just opens up plays for you to OTK harder. But yeah, you probably don't need 3 Ticket if you want to play like a more, I guess you could say, competitive Madolches. 1 to 2 Ticket would be fine, but Chateau, I would play 2 to 3. I found this card really, really good. Not just for the attack boost, there's also this card I wanted to show you guys, which I think is a fantastic card, but with the addition of what's his name? Or her name, ANGELY. It's just, the deck is just way too fast, and I really don't want to just go cat into this. I know this card can get pretty strong because it doesn't lose its attack boost. It's not until like the end phase. You can keep on boosting its attack up like crazy, so it's kind of good, but I mean, sometimes the dog can get out of control with its attack. I remember seeing someone with a dog that had its attack up to like 3k or something. I think it was 33k with the field spell. It was just absolutely ridiculous, but you know, I don't think it's just necessary. But I figured it's a card I could mention, you know, just in case you need to run over or something, because you can bounce back the field spell and then just activate the field spell again. So then that way, he would be at 18 plus. You'd get the what is it? 500 boost. So yeah, he's pretty strong after that. But next up, I play 2 Duality. I really like Duality in this deck because a lot of times in the first turn, I mean, you can definitely special summon the first turn, but there are times where I'm just trying to set up, and like I said, you can prevent getting OTK with some of these cards. Next up, 2 TD Striker. I find 2 to be good because I really don't feel like it's necessary to play 3 because I'm also playing the Instant Fusion. Basically, it just opens up plays for Naturia Beast, and this card searches it out. Anyways, I really like this card simply because it can let you make a monster. Usually what happens is I make a Catastor, and if anything goes wrong, I just try to OTK anyways. Or just, you know, you can just go special summon this and then normal summon Madolche, and that way you can kind of just float for monsters and just kind of keep yourself alive. Like, I really love it when my opponent goes first and I go Striker into Madolche, and if I really want to, I can throw up a Werewolf, but I like to prevent myself not only from getting OTK, but setting up. Like, I love opening up, like I said, TD Striker, Madolche. If I open up with, like, either one of these, it just opens up plays to where not only do I not get OTK'd, but I get to search out so I can add my cards so I can OTK my opponent. But anyways, let's go and kick it off with the deck profile, the extra deck. Anyway, so we have a 1 Carbonella Warrior, just because he's a warrior. Next up, 1 Fusionist, just because it's a target with Instant Fusion to make Naturia Beast. Next up, 1 Catastor. If you want to, I also should mention, you don't have to play like Instant Fusion. You can drop these 2, and you can make it like kind of a synchro variant, because you can throw out a lot of monsters on board that don't have the effect of like you can't synchro with them. So I think that is pretty awesome. So you can definitely make use of TD Striker, whether you Levier and get it back or you just special summon it by its own effect. You can definitely make some other synchro monsters, but this build is kind of linear. I would say most of it just goes for a huge like push, and then you make a Naturia Beast, or you set my body to shield, and then they can't do anything, and then you just proceed to win next turn. Because a lot of times in this deck, I've even thought about running Ukazi at one point, because sometimes you are maybe a few hundred, if not under 1,000 life points from beating your opponent. Like, they're at the point where like they're so low in life points, and like sometimes Werewolf makes a game, depending on what they have on board, because if they have so much back rows, sometimes I'll be like, you know what, screw it, go for game anyways, because if they have anything to stop me, I have my body as a shield anyways, and if they have Dark Hole next turn, I still have my body as a shield, because I'm running 3 copies of it. Next up, 2 Tiramisu. I think 2 is fine. You don't really need 3. Usually when you go for... Oh, one thing I want to mention, this card does not have the Madolche effect that it returns to the, deck, but you can still bounce it back with the other Tiramisu's effect, so I figured that was kind of important to mention. Then I have probably 1 Excalibur for troll purposes. This card is here against Lightsworn. You can throw up a lot of rank 4s in this deck, but it's almost unnecessary because I played triple copies of my body as a shield. But on the off chance that I really need to make it, you know, Instant Fusion, whatever, because you usually end up with Tiramisu, a Levier, and 1 Madolche monster on board, and then, because whatever you want to special summon with the effect of Ticket, because you control Ferret, so you can go ahead and special summon another monster, and then if you happen to have Werewolf or Striker, you can usually just push for game, but on the off chance they have, like, you know, Necro Gardener or something, you know, it's not a bad card to make after you go for your play. Next up, 1 Symphony to Djinn, 2 Leviers, 1 Invoker, 1 Zenmains, 1 Dweller, 1 Cowboy. There's a lot of times, like I said, where you're just a few life points off. There's a lot of duels where I'm just... I really thought about running Ukazi at one point, but God Cowboy is definitely a great addition to the deck. As far as other cards I recommend you guys to play, this card is a card that I really recommend you guys to play if you want to actually make a more competitive Madolche deck, because it allows you to not only throw up a bunch of monsters, but if you know you happen to not be able to OTK, you can just go activate this. Maybe you could play double Cowboy and just like double Cowboy someone for game, which would be hilarious to do. Actually, you could probably triple Cowboy if you really made a build to do that, which would be hilarious. Like, if you threw up 3 Cowboys in one turn and was like, okay, I'm going to make you take, what is that, 2,400 points of damage? It's like 800 for each, right? Yeah, that's not bad at all. But I also want to mention this card. This card is probably not ever going to see any play, but I do want to make a troll build with Madolche simply to just keep on flicking 300 points of damage, because you can recycle your cards really fast, and I'll play like Trigodias or something to keep myself alive, maybe Scrap Iron Scarecrow or something, and I can either crash my Madolches or just kind of let them float or something. I'll think of something, but I want to make a Madolche like deck that just like burns them with waltz, because it's kind of trolly. See, I mean, it's both times. So every time I attack or after damage calc. So I don't know. I think I can make some crazy combo. I'll think of something. If you guys have any suggestions for this deck, or how you think you can make it more competitive, hey, let me know. Like I said, this is not a competitive build. It's just more for a fun build, and a lot of you guys actually wanted the deck profile. And I'll leave a link down below in the description box so you can actually see how the TG Madolche deck worked. Like I said, I know I could have OTK'd him previously, but the thing is, I want to show you guys how you can OTK and make Naturia Beast even without what is it? What did I use? I think I used one of these cards instead of a Madolche card to XYZ or something like that. And then what did I use? I think I used Madolche Hoot Cake and TG Striker to make Naturia Beast, which is awesome. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Have some fun playing Madolches if you want to play this more fun build. But like I said, it's not the most competitive one, and I'll get a competitive profile for you guys relatively soon. I think that this deck really has some potential to be a high tier deck. Honestly, guys, this card is absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Azneyes out.